What happens when the quest for knowledge takes a dark turn? When advancements meant to uplift humanity instead unleash horrors, or are concealed from those they might harm? Tonight on Curiosity Cavern, we expose shocking scientific blunders and cover-ups that have scarred history. These are not mere footnotes, they are stark warnings. Welcome to Curiosity Cavern, where we dig deep into the strange, the shocking, and the unbelievable narratives beneath accepted reality. Today we confront an uncomfortable truth. Even within the hallowed halls of science, ambition, ego, and external pressure can blind the brightest minds. Progress can indeed be corrupted, its noble aims twisted. We're peeling back the layers on moments when scientific integrity crumbled, and the world paid a devastating price. These are stories of human fallibility, magnified by scientific discovery. Prepare yourselves because the unvarnished truth is often far more terrifying than fiction. The universe is complex, and so are its explorers. Our first case plunges us into one of the most profound ethical atrocities in medical research, the Tuskegee syphilis study. For 4 decades, from 1932 to 1972, the United States Public Health Service conducted an observational study on nearly 400 African American men in rural Alabama who had syphilis. These men were lured with promises of free medical exams, meals, and burial insurance, a cruel deception. The horrifying truth was that participants were never informed of their actual diagnosis. They were never offered treatment, even when penicillin became the standard cure in the 1940s. Instead, researchers simply watched as the disease ravaged their bodies, leading to blindness, deafness, mental illness, heart disease, and death. This was a systemic, moral failure. The cover-up spanned administrations and involved numerous medical professionals who chose silence over ethical outcry. The study's true nature was concealed from participants, their families, and the wider public. When details leaked in 1972, public outrage forced an immediate end to this shameful chapter. The damage was done, a deep wound inflicted upon a vulnerable community. The legacy of Tuskegee is an indelible stain on medical history, a chilling reminder of the potential for abuse when scientific inquiry is divorced from human rights and dignity. It shattered trust between the African American community and the medical establishment, a trust still being rebuilt today. It led to sweeping reforms in U.S. law concerning the protection of human subjects in research. Consider the weight of that betrayal, a government-sanctioned observation of suffering. The Tuskegee syphilis study remains a stark warning of the dangers of unchecked scientific power. It underscores the critical importance of informed consent and ethical obligations in research. Next, we turn our gaze skyward to January 28, 1986, a date seared into memory. The Space Shuttle Challenger, a symbol of American ingenuity, was poised for its 10th mission, carrying a crew of 7, including Krista McAuliffe, the first teacher in space. Millions watched as the shuttle lifted off, only to witness it disintegrate in a catastrophic explosion 73 seconds after launch. All 7 astronauts perished. This was no mere accident. The Rogers Commission investigation revealed a disturbing narrative of engineering concerns and managerial pressures. Engineers from Morton Thiokol had warned about the O-ring's performance in cold temperatures, but their warnings were ignored. NASA management and Thiokol executives downplayed or suppressed these warnings. The pressure to maintain an ambitious launch schedule overshadowed the scientific evidence of unacceptable risk. Feynman famously demonstrated the O-ring's loss of resiliency at low temperatures with a simple glass of ice water. The Challenger disaster was a preventable tragedy, fueled by organizational pressure and flawed communication. It forced NASA into deep introspection, leading to significant changes in safety protocols and decision-making structures. It reminds us that even in grand cosmic endeavors, human fallibility can have devastating consequences. The universe doesn't care about our launch schedules. The Challenger disaster remains a sobering lesson in the importance of heeding scientific warnings. From pharmaceuticals comes a story of unspeakable tragedy and corporate negligence. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, thalidomide was marketed globally as a sedative and remedy for morning sickness in pregnant women. It was hailed as a safe solution, a marvel of modern medicine. Millions of tablets were dispensed across dozens of countries. What followed was a devastating wave of severe birth defects. Thousands of babies were born with phocomelia, characterized by malformed or absent limbs. Other congenital defects affecting internal organs, eyesight and hearing were also common. The connection between thalidomide and these outcomes became clear, first noted by physicians like Dr. Widukind Lenz and Dr. William McBride. The core of this blunder lay in inadequate testing of the drug's effects on fetal development. The German pharmaceutical company Chemie Grünenthal downplayed reports of adverse effects and resisted withdrawing the drug. In the US, the drug was never approved thanks to FDA medical officer Dr. Francis Oldham Kelsey, who doubted its safety data. Thalidomide became a byword for pharmaceutical disaster, with lifelong consequences for an entire generation of thalidomide babies and their families. The scandal exposed the need for rigorous drug testing protocols, especially for medications intended for pregnant women. It spurred significant reforms in drug regulation and approval processes worldwide. Thalidomide is a stark reminder that the promise of relief must be balanced by a commitment to safety. The tragedy underscores the critical importance of comprehensive drug testing. It remains a cautionary tale in pharmaceutical history. The thalidomide disaster is a profound lesson in the consequences of corporate negligence. Chapter 4: Chernobyl's Meltdown, a Radioactive Secret. On April 26, 1986, the Unit 4 reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant suffered a catastrophic power excursion during a poorly executed safety test. This led to explosions and a fire that released massive quantities of radioactive material into the atmosphere, creating the worst nuclear disaster in history. It was an event that redefined our understanding of nuclear risk. The Chernobyl disaster was a deadly cocktail of flawed reactor design and human error. Operators violated procedures, disabled safety systems, and pushed the reactor into an unstable condition. The design flaws were known to some Soviet scientists, but not widely addressed. The Soviet government's immediate cover-up compounded the disaster. Officials denied the severity, initially reporting only a minor incident. They delayed evacuation, exposing thousands to high levels of radiation. The world learned of the disaster when heightened radiation levels were detected in Sweden. The long-term consequences are staggering. An exclusion zone remains largely uninhabitable. Millions were exposed to radiation, leading to increased rates of thyroid cancer and other health effects. The environmental contamination is vast and persistent. Chernobyl stands as a monument to the catastrophic potential of flawed scientific design and systemic deception. It forced a global re-evaluation of nuclear safety culture. The Chernobyl disaster is a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked scientific power. Chapter 5: The Poisonous Legacy of Thomas Midgley Jr. Innovations with a Dark Side. Our next case centers on the cumulative impact of the work of chemist Thomas Midgley Jr. Midgley was celebrated for two major inventions: tetraethyllead, the additive in leaded gasoline, and chlorofluorocarbons, specifically Freon. Both were initially hailed as breakthroughs. Leaded gasoline eliminated engine knocking. Midgley was aware of lead's dangers. He suffered from lead poisoning. Despite this, leaded gasoline was widely adopted. The industry suppressed research on lead's neurotoxic effects. CFCs were developed as non-toxic refrigerants and propellants. Scientists later discovered CFCs were destroying the ozone layer. Midgley's legacy illustrates how innovation without understanding long-term consequences can lead to global harm. His work represents a profound scientific blunder. It underscores the need for holistic risk assessment in scientific development. Midgley's inventions had catastrophic environmental and public health impacts. His story is a cautionary tale in scientific history. Chapter 6: The Asbestos Deception, a Conspiracy of Silence. Asbestos, once lauded for its heat resistance and strength, found its way into many products. Its benefits seemed undeniable, yet, hidden beneath this utility was a deadly secret. As early as the 1920s, links between asbestos exposure and severe lung diseases were documented. Companies were aware of these findings. Instead of acting, the asbestos industry suppressed the dangers. They funded research to downplay risks and discredited independent scientists. They lobbied against stricter regulations and concealed the health crisis. This was a calculated cover-up driven by profit. The human cost is staggering. Millions of workers were exposed to lethal asbestos fibers. Asbestos-related diseases often have long latency periods, creating an ongoing health crisis. The asbestos industry's deception is a profound example of corporate malfeasance. It prioritizes financial gain over human life and scientific truth. In December 1952, London was enveloped in a deadly smog. For 5 days, a dense, toxic blanket of smog descended upon the city. This wasn't the romanticized fog of Sherlock Holmes, it was a lethal brew of pollutants. The primary culprit was the widespread burning of low-grade coal. The resulting smoke mixed with natural fog to create a highly acidic atmospheric soup. Visibility dropped to mere feet, rendering transportation impossible. Theaters and cinemas closed because the smog seeped indoors. The immediate public health impact was catastrophic. The Great Smog caused the deaths of at least 4,000 people. Many more succumbed in the subsequent weeks due to complications. Hospitals were overwhelmed with cases of respiratory distress. The scientific understanding of air pollution's lethal potential was not absent, but the scale of the event shocked the nation. The initial government response was slow and understated. The Great Smog became a watershed moment, leading to landmark environmental legislation. It highlighted the deadly consequences of unchecked industrial emissions. The Great Smog of London remains a brutal wake-up call in environmental history. One of the most cynical cover-ups involves the global tobacco industry. As early as the 1930s, research linked smoking to lung cancer. By the 1950s, the evidence was undeniable. Faced with this threat, tobacco companies did not choose transparency. Instead, they embarked on a campaign of misinformation and doubt. In 1953, tobacco executives strategized a unified public relations approach. Their core strategy, "Doubt is our product." They funded research to create confusion about health risks. They suppressed internal research confirming the dangers of smoking. They marketed filtered and light cigarettes as healthier alternatives. They employed lobbyists and public relations firms to fight regulation. This deception prioritized profit over public health. It took decades of work by public health advocates to turn the tide. The tobacco industry's cover-up is a chilling case study in subverting scientific integrity. It's a battle that continues in many parts of the world. Our final exploration takes us to the Piltdown Man hoax. In 1912, Charles Dawson announced the discovery of fossil fragments in Piltdown, Sussex. These remains were presented as the missing link between apes and humans. The Piltdown fossils appeared to have a human-like cranium and an ape-like jaw. This fit prevailing theories that brain development preceded other adaptations. The discovery was hailed as a monumental triumph. However, there were skeptics. Some noted inconsistencies in the fossils. But the desire for Piltdown Man to be genuine was strong. Dissenting voices were often ignored. The investigation into its authenticity was slow and incomplete. It wasn't until 1953 that scientists exposed Piltdown Man as a hoax. The cranium was human but medieval in age, while the jawbone belonged to an orangutan. The teeth had been filed down, and the fragments were artificially stained. The Piltdown Man hoax is a cautionary tale about credulity and the importance of skepticism. It highlights the need for rigorous verification in scientific discoveries. The perpetrator remains a subject of debate. The Piltdown Man hoax is one of history's most embarrassing scientific deceptions. These stories remind us that scientific progress, when unchecked by ethics and transparency, can lead to devastating consequences. The pursuit of knowledge is noble, but not infallible. Which of these blunders shocked you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Curiosity Cavern is your gateway to the unbelievable and unexplained. If you're fascinated by these revelations, hit subscribe and join our community. We bring you more mind-bending discoveries and critical examinations. The universe is full of mysteries, and human history is no less complex. Thank you for exploring with us tonight. We value your curiosity and commitment to understanding. We'll see you in the next video for another journey into the extraordinary.